Hey team, how are we going? It is Kaz here from In the Trenches with Kaz, and tonight's going to be a little bit different. For starters, it's been a whirlwind. I have been sicker than bloody Puff Diddy's bloody telegrams at the moment, or his mind, the diddler, but I've been back from the international airport picking up my brother-in-law. I've been in the house less than a minute and a half. Lucky that I had this already set up, ready to go. So thank you very much for the little bit later stream. And as for this dagger microphone lollipop, so to speak, I'll just put that out of my hand and let you know what we're going to be talking about tonight. But before we do so, just a bit of a call out to some of those doing a little bit hard at the moment. We've got Dwayne out there, righto, who's doing pretty tough. He's got an illness. I don't know if he wants me to talk about it or not, but he's not in a good way, but he's battling that, okay? Just like a lot of people are, different things. Jen from up north doing a great service with her special needs family. We've got some special needs parents out there too, so all the best to you guys. Also, we've got, I haven't been able to get in touch with Stevie Bryce and his wonderful son, Liam. And that leaves us on to tonight. What are we going to be talking about tonight? We're going to be talking about going on operations. That's what we're going to be talking about. Going on operations, how quick it can happen, what is your mindset, and what it looks like. Don't gauge everything based on Afghanistan or Rwanda or Somalia, or Iraq or the Solomons, East Timor, and anywhere else you go to. Because every trip is different, and the enemy determines what our makeup is, what our ORBAT is, what our combat teams look like, and also the memories and traumas you may come home with. And if you're going over, bam, under that, the infantry combat badge, while wearing, bam, the Skippy badge, then that means not only are you going at the spear point, but you're going there to do your job. Okay, and that's not peacekeeping. Peacemakings. Peacekeeping means you're normally standing between two belligerents, righto, and you're acting similar to a police force. Peacemaking means you're going over of engagement to be able to do your job, and force peace. Like bashing a bully, so to speak. And that's what we were going to do in 1999. What led up to that? There's a lot you can look into. But it was 25 years ago, and I realised how old I am now, because even at that stage in 1999, 25 years ago, Friday, we deployed, I'd already been on operations over to Central Africa, Rwanda, with my team. So this was my second gig, and I tell you, guys, we went there to do the real deal, and the only reason why there wasn't more caskets was, one, our government managed to broker peace in a few areas where it could have gone down, but also the Indonesians didn't want to scrap with the Aussies, and there was a lot of us, and we're going to represent that in a minute. Let's quickly see here before we go too crazy. Cassie's there, the teacher. We've got Mr. Buckaroony. 25 years has gone quick. I remember when you used to have hair, Bucko. We've got Dwayne, there he is. We've got Declan. Great conversation on the weekend, my man. Handcrafted by Terry G. Thanks for the cutting board. I haven't used it yet. It's still an ornament. Let us know in comments who was on INTERFET in 1999. Okay. Hey, there he is. Stand fast. Dave D. Gotti, how you going, fingers? Hope the stream goes well. Ship reception at Greenslopes Hospital, so I'll watch when I get home. May you keep your hands off those nurses too. They're not very forgiving. We've got Simon Powell, the filthy Raffy. Good to have you here, mate. With the dust of Tyndall still in his eyes. I'm alive up here with my father, 73 years old. He was rushed up here last Tuesday. He's broken his ribs. His father is in a pretty bad way. At least a month at that age. We've got Jennifer G from up north, the Lenky Wanderer. Let's put some meat on those bones, sir. And let's get down to the bottom here, otherwise we're never going to get to it. Mr. Buckery and Dwayne, Stevie Best.
Yeah, I should be able to speak to you tomorrow, mate. I've only just got back in, mate. SAS guys must be hard as. You know, a lot of our mates were over there with SAS at the time. They were the first ones on the ground. They were there as a not just a reconnaissance force, but so there is similar to like ambassadors. And they were the ones doing the commentary on what to expect when we hit the ground. Okay, let's go back a little bit now. And what I'm going to do is just give you a little bit of a conversation, because we've got so many people that want to join the military and they want to know, how long does it take to find out you go on operations? What does it look like when you go on operations, and what goes through your mind? And I'm going to talk about all that tonight. So I'll get back and forth to comments. You know how to support the channel. You can either become a member to watch yourself go green. Okay, on Patreon and get the one-on-one phone call. Kaboom on here. We've got some fantastic new members with some zany names, even an Alexander the Great. Well done. And he works in Townsville and loves Cactus Jacks. Incredible. Declan, okay, he's as new as an unused condom, in Diddy's cell. And we've got Stevie Best. He's new here too, and claims to be the best. So let's get to it. So let's go back. Was it 1999? Was I single? I believe I wasn't. I wasn't single. I was going out with a girl that was an MP, and she cheated on me, actually. But she was a great chick, and I would have cheated on me too if I was her. So what happened? I was with the 2nd Battalion, Royal Australian Regiment, before it was amphibious. That was when 5-7 was still ramps down, pants down. That's where they earned their name, I believe. And stuff started to come across the news, but I wouldn't have known because I was on sub 2. That's where you do your course out in the field environment. Average temperature about 40 degrees plus, and it was a defensive module as well. So I'd done my patrol. I'd Robbie McKay, God bless his soul, rest in peace, young man, died in an operation, not a military operation, a medical operation. And I was saying, there you go, mate, Ringy. Yeah, I know it's you, Foxy. He went with Alpha Company 1999. I was in Alpha Company 1999 2 platoon. The relevance of that will come out in a moment as well. So I was on sub 2 for corporal, been out bush for nearly a month, and this is where it got really hard. G'day, Moonshine, how you going, mate? I was getting ready to go and do my SAS barrier selection for special forces. A month without eating normal food and no sleep deprivation, food deprivation, etc. So it was going to be a hard task as it was, but my ADHD knew I was ready. So I went from without a night off straight to turning up to the barrier test in 1999 for SASR. Now, those guys basically told us after we'd done our first day and a bit, we started off, like, you look at it and you go, okay, so you've got to do a swim test, 400 metres plus whatever. Okay, you've also got to do a BFA, chin-ups, all these things. But what happens is they compound, because you might turn up there like we right away. So the lactic acid is already forming, and then you're getting around at pace to get to the next stand, whether that be a kit check, whether it be some sort of written examination, plus the intimidation that you're chasing something you really weren't. What's a barrier test? A barrier test is what you used to do to make sure you're not wasting their time before you go to a Carter course, over in Western Australia. It was also to see whether you're more suited for commandos or SAS, etc. So what occurred there was I turned up there, everything was going fine, passed the BFA, no dramas whatsoever, naturally at a higher rate than what you're expected to do a BFA for your battalion or for your minor unit, and definitely more than RAF and Navy. And we'd gone through the entire day. Charlie Company 22 platoon, oh, you're in Kapuka. There you go. There's no 22 platoons in a battalion. So we'd finished that. The swim test, I remember I rocked up to that. An SAS guy comes up to me. Press like if you can, team. SAS guy comes over to me and looks at my webbing. You know, I was never very good at setting my gear up, you know, but I've never dropped out of anything either. And he looks down at my webbing and he's going, well, what's that on your webbing? And there's a horseshoe on there. I said, it's a horseshoe. It's a lucky horseshoe. He goes, what? I said, well, I never get wet with this horseshoe. That's why. He goes, you're a fucking idiot. You're about to do a swim test. It's not working real well, is it? I went, huh, you've got a point. But voluntary, I'm here for a swim. And he goes, what if I want you to take it off? Would you take it off? I went, no, I wouldn't. And he went, all right, good answer. And he just walked off, never saw him again. We continue on from there, doing other physical activities, and then it gets to the 3.2, which is one of the most feared. All this while there's politics looming at the moment, and 1 hour steaming towards, East Timor at this stage. Okay. And I remember it got to the 3.2, and I remember seeing Pronky. You might have heard of him before, and his fitness is incredibly off tap. And they go 3.2, go. Now, running is my forte when it's not doing chin-ups and when I'm not doing push-ups. Running was my thing. But I didn't realise how much I'd taken out of my legs that day, as well as the food deprivation, etc., sleep deprivation and everything I'd been up to for the last 4 weeks. And I tell you, that 3.2 was the hardest 3.2 I've ever done, competing against the fittest people I've ever competed against as well. And I remember I'm used to being first. And I'm watching people that are 200 metres ahead of me as they've hit the turnaround point and they're coming back. And I'm thinking, I'm not used to this. I'm not used to this. And, that's with all equipment, boots on, rifle, your webbing, everything, So I end up finishing too. And I got back there and I remember this fella. He's already crying as he's running. And I remember him having a conversation with me earlier saying this was his last crack, and if he fails his 3.2, he's stuffed, and this was the event he was scared of. And he was well behind me. He didn't make it. And the thing is with the barrier test, as soon as you fail something, off you go. So the group's getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Finish the 3.2, yeah, pass, no worries. And I'm thinking all the hard shit is out the way. And then one of the SAS guys calls, and they're sitting down there going, who is from Timor? From the 2nd Battalion. I'm like, yeah, that'd be me. Second to none. The men in black. That's me, not black face, except when I'm outfield. Anyway, so he goes, you guys are going to East Timor. So whatever you do on this barrier test is not going to make any difference. Because you won't qualify to go for the barrier for the actual Carter course within that time, because you'll be away on operations doing your job. So no hard feelings. Pick your shit up. If you want to go on operations with the 2nd Battalion because you're from Timor, off you go. Remember, at that stage there's nearly 1,000 men in the 2nd Battalion, not like now. And I'm thinking, oh shit, this is you know what? This is a test. I know what you're saying, but you're lying to me. You're lying. No, we're not. But you are, aren't you? No, we're not. I'm like, fuck, I'm sure it's a test. And we'd had a warrant officer come up to us outfield going, for any of you dickheads that think that you're going to East Timor, think again. And 1 hour will be going, his name was Bones Brady, and I will bet my weight in cigars that you guys aren't going. Anyone willing to take that bet? Didn't think so. I went, no, I'll take that bet. And he goes, shut up, dickhead, and walked off. And I went, oh, here we go. So we get taken out to the range complex, which is out behind the university. And this is for, the way they explained it, with the halfway mark being the range facility. range control. Yep. And they go, okay, so what's happening is you're about to start. Do you remember Johnny Horro? Of course I remember Johnny Horro. He's a lovely bloke. I was also his 2IC at 10 IRC, the 10th Independent Rifle Company. There you go. Small world. Anyway, to the range, and we're out at the dam area where you do the 100 metre zero. Now you use the MTR more. And they've said to us, you're about to start the 28 kilometre sprint, pack sprint. And I'm like, hang on, 28 kilometre pack sprint? That's a long way to be sprinting. I'm a runner. And anyway, okay, that's what we're getting ready to do. And they say, when you finish this, okay, waiting for you. Right, again, if you're from the 2nd Battalion, this is probably a good time to dip. See you later. And it'd be interesting if this ever gets back when the SAS got on that barrier test that we're running it. They'd be able to vouch for me for this one. And so what happens is we start to get ready to go on this 28 kilometre pack sprint. And they go, no, you've got to do a warm-up first. And the warm-up was over a kilometre in the opposite direction and then back again. You're playing games with us now. Anyway, we get back and they go, okay, and go. We head off. Pronky is already running. And I'm thinking, it is called the pack sprint, but no one's going to run 30 kilometres with a pack on. And I start going along. Anyway, it's hot as shit. It is hot as a fat chick's armpit, when she's got one number left on her bingo card in summer. And I'm thinking, no worries, here we go. And I'm heading off, occasionally talking. They've said don't talk to anyone. This is an individual effort. And I tell you, all I can have in my mind is, am I going to miss out on going on operations here? Am I going to miss out? I don't think they're joking anymore. So I roll my ankle and I hit the ground like a bag of shit, like Jack Reacher had used me as an example of what not to say to a woman, at a funeral. I bite the dust hard and I get up and I've got no injuries whatsoever. I'm thinking, fuck, okay. So I'm not injured. So Destiny's not trying to get me out of here either. I get back up again and I say to one of the blokes coming past, hey mate, do you reckon they're serious about this 2RR thing going to East Timor? He goes, yeah, I reckon they are. And I went, really? And I went, when we get to this red light up here, I'm off. I'm out. I'm going on operations. That's what I'm here for. I'd already been on operations before, again. And I also, one of those delicious dollars, as well as giving freedom to the East Timorese, okay, that had also been given freedom from Australians previously when they fought the Jap. Yep. The tired guys from the small place to the east of tired. And so I click, pack comes off on the ground straight away. Lights on this rover, comes out of nowhere, comes down. What's going on, mate? You've done your back. You've done your ankle. Shin splints. I went, no, I'm just, I've had enough. I want to go back to 2RR and go overseas. He went, so there's nothing wrong with you. There's no excuses. You're pulling out with nothing wrong with you. I went, that's right. I went, okay, jump in. Takes me to range control, puts me down, so sit on your pack, look at everyone, as they come past, so that they know now that you're the first person to quit. I said, I didn't quit. They go, listen to me. Look them in the eye, don't talk to them, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, ultimately what ends up happening is they say, yep, okay, when you come back, have another go. Well, I didn't realise I was going to meet a beautiful young woman, and that's a different story. I get back to the battalion, okay, and they go, fuck off, go home, be ready here tomorrow. And as I turn up the next day, everyone is in the MRI building, and the battalion's getting spoken to. And I remember one of my bosses, the OC, looked at me like shaking his head like, I knew you weren't going to make it. I feel like what's your problem? I'm about to go on operations with you. What's going on? So it turns out, yeah, we're going. And one area, they were already basically within the waters of East Timor and got told, turn around, you're not going. They'd been online, they should have been the ones on the ground. 2 hours just as good or better. Don't get me wrong. And we started doing all this, mission event list, preparations for this, and this is all within a few days too. A few days. You're not going home. You haven't got time to go and hang out with loved ones. And Jacko Jacobson was my section commander. I was the 2IC. We've got our lads there. Savanaka Tawaki, our Fijian. We've got Trevor Cameron, a fantastic bloke, and a novelty of other great people. And we end up getting told, okay, the Prime Minister's coming to see us today. So Johnny Howard rocks up, with Kim Beazley, who was already sweating like a pig, and I could tell he wanted to see if the canteen was going to open so he could be eating some tucker, etc. And I'm going somewhere with this team, and he stands up there and they basically tell the media, you need to step down. Don't record this shit. 1,000 blokes standing around in our uniforms, getting ready for whatever's about to happen next, the next day, that is. And we've already got our weapons, kit we had on us at the time, and the weights, etc. And Johnny Howard's talking with the CEO and all that sort of stuff, and they're going, are we expecting casualties tomorrow? Yes. Okay, the Indonesians aren't happy that it's a contested location. There's probably going to be a real problem, casualties. I'm thinking save it, Private Ryan, straight away. And we didn't know at this stage who were on the chalks, who's going in first, etc. for the Australian Army. Understand the Special Forces were already on the ground. And Howard starts crying because he'd come down, starts shaking hands with all the soldiers. A few people got in trouble because they actually gave him a bit of a ruffle. It's okay, Johnny, we're going to be all right. But you still got to give respect to the Prime Minister, even though he took our guns. And what ended up happening was they said, okay, what we want you to do is go from here, Prime Minister. Okay, you've spoken to the blokes, off you go. We've got work to do. Kim Beazley, get to the canteen or get one of the boys to cook you some noodles, whatever it takes. They say to us, okay, this is the equipment you need to get ready for your load list. And I remember it was 210 rounds for a Steyr. It was 800 rounds for a Mag 58. I don't even know if we took Minimise. I know we took Mag 58s, the 7.62 machine gun. 24 kilos for that ammunition there, by the way, team. 23 kilos, plus 10 kilos, and plus another 2-point-something kilos for the spare barrel. You didn't want to be a gunner in INTERFET, I'll tell you right now. And on top of that, 2 mortar rounds that you had to carry, 20 litres of water. That's 20 kids that don't know how to do the maths. Plus your body armour, which was only deemed to be spit-proof, plus your Kevlar helmet. Even if you're a Tasmanian, and you had 2 heads. Then we had the barbaric night vision equipment that left scars, like you end up with cheekbones like Sher. And our packs got to the stage where you just couldn't fit anything in that was for you. And they even said don't break ration packs down, which was crazy. It was like 3 plastic pillows. I'm not talking about the single box of romance that they have in between school knockoffs. And we're going, well, we're getting ready to go. And I said, oh, by the way, if you're carrying a pack that's not issued, go get your issued pack. So back and forth we went, let us know if we forget anything there, Ringy. So he's saying we took the Minimise. There you go. Okay, David Kelly saying, yep, I knew him in WA when he was posted 11-28. We both had fuck me's. I was X3RR. That's Old Faithful for those. I was in East Timor same time as Johnny, but I had gone over to 2Cav then. Yeah, righto. There you go, mate. Well done, and thank you for coming over with us. And I hope you enjoyed the on-bacon. So what was I getting at? So I've got to have our equipment. I remember, I wasn't heavy, but I was very strong. I remember when we lifted our packs up, we didn't know how much they weighed. And because we also had Claymores, we also had the 66s, the light anti-armour weapon systems. What else we had? We had hand grenades. We had the Claymore. We had the 203s. We had the 40 mic rounds. I think we even had freaking trip flares, and we had gas grenades, we had gas masks as well. You know, I've never carried so much kit in my entire life. Plus, we're also carrying saline bags on top of that in case you get wounded, so you got to use. And I remember hearing someone's pack snap. The actual that sound as the strap breaks and their 50, 60 kilos worth of equipment falls down and just smashes on the ground. And then the guy getting in trouble, you go, mate, when something artificial actually snaps under the weight that's being carried, it's not the digger's fault. You know. Plus, we had all sorts of other weird novelty shit we were carrying. But anyway, so it comes time to go. And it felt weird being on the parade ground at Laverick Barracks, looking at over 1 million rounds on the ground, with other explosives while you're watching civilians outside the fence walking back and forth, while you've got claymores doing base tests, thinking a parade ground is actually meant to represent where dead soldiers are buried. And there we are, base testing the claymores, and it was time to go. And then they read out the chalk in what order you go. And the first people to go to East Timor, and you may hear differing opinions, but I'm right on this one. The first people on the ground other than Special Forces, Alpha Company 2RA. Alpha Company 2RA, And the first platoon on the ground was 2 platoon, Alpha Company 2RA. And in that Herc that was going to hit the ground first was myself, was Jacko Jacobson, was I was just telling you, our Fijian, amazing guy, Mr. Twaki, and that'll become more apparent, Camo and the boys. So it was really weird. So get on the plane, it all goes red. No, there's no reason for seatbelts and shit. You can get up, walk around, you can walk up into the cockpit. And you just walk around, it's like, what are we going to do if something goes wrong? If someone gets hit, guess what? It's not going to matter. We're not coming to do first aid on you. The plane behind might do something, but the first guys have to hit the ground and be ready to go from scratch. And guess what? When they hit the ground, you're going to run down the ramp while the plane is still going, and you just got to run in a way that the jet wash doesn't make a mess here. Okay, we'll do that. Well, we talk the whole way over here on what we're expecting to occur. Darwin too, and you think that's as hot as it gets, mate. East Timor is even hotter. You're actually on the equator. I hope I'm not losing you here or being boring here, team. Foxtown says asleep on the Airmobile to Bacau. We thought we were going to receive enemy resistance. Absolutely. We'll get to that in 2 seconds, man. And that was just before we also went and did Balibo, remember? The biggest air mobile since Vietnam, which is also the photo on the thumbnail that you can see on the. So what happens is we hit the ground, we get out. Any sounds of battle later would be negligent discharges by Air Force soldiers, AGIs doing NDs. We hit the ground, we jump out, we're all running one direction to go and secure this the opposite side of the airfield when Savanaka Tawaki's mattress cover flies the opposite way. It's not worth shit. You wouldn't do anything with it. But he's not in the mood to lose his equipment, so he's running the opposite direction. The only black guy running the opposite direction of the white to go and find this mattress cover. He turns around, we get him back. He comes back and joins us with the first ones on the ground, and you look up and you can see the planes. They're all coming in to each other, not to mention the Navy was out there. There was all this fleet that was out there that was ready to do anything and everything that they were asked to do, etc. We were told the only thing that wasn't allowed to go to East Timor was tanks. Funny that. So anyway, we get down there, and before we know it, there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of the 2nd Battalion on the ground, and some guys got ditty mounted straight away, had to go down, secure the port, come in, and they came in on the Jarvis Bay, I believe, the big, not hovercraft, the catamaran, and that came in. And then we heard that they had their ground, and I believe they nearly got in a stoush, those lads. Sorry, Brady, I never went anywhere, so these stories are quite interesting. There's so much machinations that happen behind the scenes that's so hard to explain to people. Just the heat. When you ran off the back of that hurt and got hit by the East Timorese heat, I've never felt anything like it in my life. It was like getting bashed with a mammoth's fart. It was just so hot. You can't even explain it. Plus the equipment that we were carrying, we looked like turtles. So we get our area, 3 RRs now established. They've nearly had a fight with militia that are trying to get out of there. That were actually Indonesian soldiers, a lot of them dressed like militia, and they're getting now. There was a real chance that could have gone pear-shaped for them because we had the weapons on the ground. We were G'd up. We were ready to fight. And believe me, the 2nd Battalion and the 3rd Battalion, Old Faithful, they were ready to go. And we were expecting to go. We were there under, like we said before, badge, and we're under the infantry combat badge. So we weren't there to fuck around. Yep. We were there to follow the footsteps of the Anzacs that literally in World War II were around the Portuguese forts, etc., because the Portuguese had fought there too. So the first night goes down, and all you can see is these little fires everywhere in the hills. I didn't know at the time that was all the people that had left Dili because all of their houses had been burnt down by the TNI, and they're under CODAMs instead of battalions, etc. So we're like, okay, well, what's going on? The next day we find out, don't get comfortable, lads. You guys are going to go over now and you're going to go and secure airfield and be ready. You may get in a fight with Indonesian soldiers over there. They've held the place for a long time and basically had the power of God. So we didn't get much sleep. You couldn't sleep over there in between machine gun pickets. The exhilaration of, are we about to save Private Ryan, etc. And I remember just sitting around going, I expected this to be more of a fight. But you don't realise bullies don't like fighting people that can fight better than them, do they? And Indonesia had been warning Australia for decades of what had happened if we ever messed with them. Guess what? Indonesia's scared shitless of Australians. They are. They won't do it. The Aggies turned up. They looked like infantry, but their gear was brand new. And we're down, and we're just settling down, and maybe we can go and get something off these raffies too. So we head over. They wouldn't even give us a Coke. They've got burns using too much Coke. Later, they ended up even getting Kentucky flown in. Do you reckon they shared any with Australian infantry? Nah. You'd never let me down, a red one. Nothing. Oh, yeah. The simple things, the sugar, the ADD refresher. We get ready to take off to Bacau. We turn up to Bacau airfield. I think we got in there by choppers, I believe. We went over and basically watched and supported the evacuation of the TNI troops, the Indonesians, from the airfield. Went down to the commandant's house at the end of the runway, kicked the shit out of his garden with all the statues of him, etc. Kaz, my transfer to full-time comes into effect on the 22nd of October, very soon. Then off to Singo on the 4th of November. I hope your fitness is up, my man. Pretty keen, not sure what I'll be doing starting full-time and going to Singo, though. Let us know. I'll be very interested. There you go. And support by Terry G right there. So we land down there. We've been hearing there's been snipers around, having a hard time with the TNI from the Falantel, probably, which is the resistance of the Timorese against the Indonesians, etc. Undiscovered The sound's playing up. Is the sound playing up? Shit, I hope not. And we get told, okay, what's going to happen is we're going to Ballabo, where the journalists have been murdered, and we're going to go and secure that village. And the 2nd Battalion, again, is going to go flying over to the border to cut off any of the TNI or those trying to escape from East Timor, okay? Now, our rules of engagement, we were basically on red card, which is a training card, but it basically means, without warning on people you identify as an enemy combatant, etc. So it was a little bit combobulated, but we got on the helos and we were expecting to go down to a fully garrisoned Ballabo, and maybe the fight's going to be on again. So we pick up, we get in the helos, we gutted the helos out so we could fit more and more people sitting on the ground, no doors on the choppers, sitting outside, guys in the machine guns, all that sort of shit. Hey, Jace Clark, how you going, mate? Bravo Kate Morale was in Tyndall ready to go, then everything changed. Morale was in the gutter. Jace, I was speaking on that before. I'll quickly go to that now. Jace, know that you guys were good to go, were ready to go. There was guys in the ships already going over there, and something happened between the brigade commander talking to the battalion commanders. And the rumour has it our battalion commander was didn't sell his battalion out, but yours said something that made him a less desirable prospect, and that's why 1RA got turned around, see you later, come back, 2nd Battalion, second to none. The men in black are here to do the job, which we did very bloody well, for that matter, mate. But believe me, 2RAR and I believe 3RAR also admitted that you guys got the hard end of the stick there, Clarky. But that was the pay years back, I guess, for Somalia, where I missed out on that trip. And I tell you, there was, I believe, a lot of people, tell me if I'm wrong, Clarky, that put their discharge in because they thought this was a one-trick pony. See what I said about 1RAR then, Septimus, etc., that they weren't going to get a gig, and guys actually put their discharges and got out, not realising that they were going to be on the next rotation. When the first rotation was 5-7, 3RAR, okay, and the 2nd Battalion, Royal Australian Regiment. When those battalions went in, they had to be replaced. And the best people to replace is always light infantry, because we can do every single role. Amphibious, we can do airmobile, we can do naval, not just amphibious, but naval. We can do dismounted, and we can do armoured, So I'm sorry to you guys and to any of those that lost their gig and their chance to go over and get their own infantry combat badge. Long story short, we do this biggest air mobile since Vietnam. And I tell you, if I didn't realise how scared of heights I was, I knew on this one. Because it's one thing to be in a helo when you're low, scooting over the area, centrifugal forces, quickly panning to your left, right, tack flying, and it holds you in. But when you're flying thousands of feet up in a helo, you don't feel like you're going forward at all. And when the helos are only 1.5 blades away from each other, and there's about 20 of them beside each other, I tell you, man, every time you judder and hit turbulence, you feel like you're going down. It sucks. So we hit the ground at Ballabo, and we went and cleared that. And I think I found the only person that was in the village, and it was an old lady. And I'll tell you something that doesn't work as well, is kicking doors down is not like the movies where you kick the door, it flies in, then you sweep through the building. You kick those doors, nothing happens. Dust falls down, you get shin splints, and then you try the door, it was open the whole time. As the lesbian ghoul opens the door, goes rushing in, after we'd done house after house after house of nothing, and this old lady's just standing there. And I believe she was almost topless as well, if I can remember. It was horrible. It's probably where my PTSD came from. And ultimately, what ended up happening was we started dominating the border after that. And we had the Kiwis working over there as well, in the infantry context as well. We had the Kiwis getting a shit fight. We had Charlie Company getting a fight and kill some cops from Indonesia. Most of the contacts happened between special forces. There was some across the border shootings, etc. And ultimately we were only there for 4 months, I remember. But I remember one of the cruelest things was you used to actually take a bit of pleasure out in yourself. It had nothing to do with sexuality. It was just to get rid of testosterone. And every time I tried to do that, Trevor Cameron would come over and bum, bum. I won't go too far into this sort of subject, Nat, guys, but we did. There you go, Foxy. Oh, Ringy reckons you got his legs stuck in the door. If your legs and Ringy used to wear a bloody. He was one of my best mates, Darren Smith, who just had Cactus Jacks for that matter. But Ringy had really nice legs actually for kilts, and he was in pipes and drums when he wasn't actually carrying a rifle and bayonet. So the Indonesians basically got the hell out of town as quickly as they could. They took all of their guys with them. There were some situations that happened in Dili. Some of the POWs we had, when you see their face, mate, when you take them into a room with no windows, you don't have to say anything. You just stand there and stare at them. And they piss themselves. They think it's on because that projects what they do with their prisoners. So I learned a lot about, intimidation. If you look after prisoners of the other country, then they tend to look after yours, you would think. And I do believe if they don't, then you should turn the tap off that and start fighting without the gloves on as well, I believe. And I also believe rules of engagement to some extent should be designed and signed off by the actual combatants on the ground, not those that carry pens that decide on what we can and can't do in order to win the conflict. So, getting out of East Timor, I do remember we were only there for about 4.5 months. But I remember it was such a beautiful country in some areas. And there's Portuguese forts, hundreds of years old. And you'd be standing on these fort battlements thinking the last guy that was on this had a pike in his hand. And he was probably dreaming of home as well. And the cheating missus that might be waiting back at home for him. No bitterness here. It was incredible to be part of it. It was so goddamn hard, just because of the atmospherics. And fitness was the key thing that made people capable or not. Because the packs were so heavy, there wouldn't have been a pack under 55 kilos. So females thinking about going to infantry, forget it. You can't do it. You couldn't do it. And when you mix the heat, etc., the planning range, when we were moving through Bacau, I remember we were only going about 400, 500 metres, of a dismounted patrol in marching order. We'd have to be geared down. The boys are starting to drop because of the heat, because it was the load. It was incredible. There's all these logistical things. You just need to understand that what we do in training prepares us for what we do on operations. And although we were super ready because of the time of the year, we'd already done individual training, we'd already done collective training, the sections, we'd already done platoon work, we'd done company work, we'd done battalion work, we'd even done course periods, and we're in the subject courses when we got deployed. So we were good to go. We were tired, but we were good to go. And 2RR got all sorts of props for how well they did on that trip. 3RR was in an enclave where they secured that location as well. And 5-7 scooted around the area and held different locations in their tactical areas of responsibility, areas of operation as well. Some of the takeaway things that I either distressed me or that I really remember. One, hate to say it, if you're watching from Timorese, their cruelty to animals was the worst I've seen. Seeing cows with, a chunk cut out of the cow so that they could eat it without actually killing the cow. So actually just cutting a chunk out of it for food. That was terrible. Seeing dogs with their legs broken behind their backs and then hanging by their legs to stress the meat so they could eat the dogs. When you come from a dog-loving country like Australia, that was goddamn terrible. And what you walk past is what you own, isn't it? So that was a really terrible thing. The Timorese were lovely people, really, really lovely people. They couldn't have done more for us, especially at Ada Basala, where they built us shelters to keep us out of the tropical rains while we're on machine gun post to hopefully make us comfortable enough that we'd stay and guard their village. I remember thinking I'm meant to be at Times Square. I remember being there New Year's Eve for the millennium between 1999 and 2000, when the big clock is going to fall in Times Square. That's where I wanted to be. That's not where I was. I was in Mimo, I think it was, and just thinking, dude, I remember looking up and just watching the countdown going, this is the first year I can remember not kissing someone. I think I looked at Savanaka Tawaki and said, not in this lifetime, sir. But things happen, they happen quick. And the little things you remember that stay with you, the heat, how high some of those kids could climb to get a coconut from a coconut tree, insane. The fear of missing out whenever an operation was occurring for another company. The companies, it's not fair. Some companies working harder than others. I remember the fat section, where we had a guy, first name starts with P, you know who it is there, Foxy, Ringy, and I remember the section commander too, and it was like Vietnam. We were able to sit on the APCs and patrol around on the APCs, but then when we did a big clearance, what happened was all of a sudden night vision equipment, the night weapon sights are on the outside of people's packs, had been getting knocked off as they were going through foliage and bushes and trees. And then we had the fat section where one of the fat bastards, they went around a corner, jinked quickly, left stick, right stick. One fat bastard fell and grabbed another fat bastard who then rolled it, and they all fell off and bounced on the road and hurt himself. So that it came down over the radio, no one's allowed to be on top of the armoured vehicles anymore. So then we had to get down inside these 56 degrees Celsius vehicles, sucking in the cigarette smoke from 3/4 cav, 3/4, cavalry boys, okay, as well as the diesel. And sometimes people were even enforced to wear their helmets. I'll wait till the shooting's happening before I put a helmet on, thank you. What else we got here? Declan, should I run with a weighted vest to better prepare myself for infantry? Declan, I wouldn't do that, mate. I wouldn't do it. The last thing we need is you get extra injuries on your patellas, your kneecaps, etc., on your shins, on your lower limbs. They'll get you prepared for that when you get there, mate. Yep. And co-signed there by Dave D, and he knows as well. GCM deployed in 2000, just a couple of months after completing IATs. 5 Aviation, up on the hill from Ballabo Fort, which is now a hotel. Is that right? I didn't even know. Mate, we loved 5 Aviation because the Black Hawk, one, it feels safer in the sky than a Huey that the Kiwis flew us around in as well. But it was like a big ceiling fan. Blew some of the dust off you. We ended up getting in a Chinook Russian helicopter. It was massive. Put nearly a rifle company in this bastard. This was on our second trip, but and the guy's just wearing a nappy, and then Mr. Big ol' bloody eye. It was incredible. I think I've been in almost every chopper that exists. Well done there, GCM 747. The reason why this came up today, team, is just because it was 25 years ago, but they're doing a reunion right now in Townsville. That happened over this weekend. A lot of guys with hangovers and all that sort of stuff. And I just want to let you know, when you join the army, from flash to bang, from the moment you see something on the TV to the activation of you going there, maybe, and there's a massive difference between going somewhere on active service with your medals, with the red strip saying it's active service, under an infantry combat badge, where you're going there to seek out and close the enemy, to kill or capture them, to seize and hold ground, to repel attack by day or night, regardless of season, weather, or terrain. And that is only if you go as part of that fighting team. If your core is infantry, but you get posted to help with logistics or in a headquarter element, you don't get that. You only get it if you're supposed to deploy to seek out and grab the rat bastards and do them harm. Yep. That's why there's so much weirdness going on with certain people getting stripped of medals by people that were never in danger in the first place, who were above them. We know what we're talking about. The Commander-in-Chief of Name and Names, P. Diddy himself. Do you have any questions on East Timor? Do you have any questions? It's a beautiful location. It's like you feel like you're in Rio when you're down in Dili and you see the giant statue of Jesus, with the arms out, just like in Rio. I do remember Stinky Bob. That was he was a gentleman that had passed away, and his body was at Batagade. He stunk too. God bless his soul and rest in peace to that man, who I dare say, the fact that it was just one of them, that he was probably the victim of a horrible circumstance. Okay, what do we got here? How do you think it is to get deployed in operations in the present day? It's absolutely possible, Declan. You got to remember that no one had been overseas, anywhere since Vietnam when I joined in 1991. And after that, there was Cambodia, there was Rwanda, okay, there was the Solomons, there was East Timor, there was Afghanistan, okay, there was Iraq. Now, what else is there? Thing as well as the humanitarian things, but infantry don't train. We're not meant to be trained for humanitarian. We're meant to be sharpening bayonets and getting ready for the big jobs. Johnny Dix, the doctor. So you're not coming up to Townsville reunion? No, I can't, Johnny. Now, at the moment, my health is gone to shit. Now they reckon it's something to do with Crohn's disease here, but motor neuron on this side. We should get it. Okay, Sinai is always, that's been going for God knows how long. I've done that as well. That's over where you become an Egyptian citizen for the Camp David Accords and monitor the peace between Israel and Egypt, etc., including around the Gaza. So if you're a corporal in a support role, you can get a chance on going over. If you're a sergeant in infantry, you've got a good chance of going over. Keep telling Schema, and that is the best trip I've done in my career. Lee, Mr. McKenzie, did Aussie media have much of a presence? Well, I hate Australian media. I really do. Channel 7, 9, 10, ABC, go fuck yourselves. I hate them. I believe they're biased as hell, and what they're doing on American politics at the moment is unforgivable. There was some over there. We were warned to be very wary of Australian media because they're very biased. They'll do a good story on you today, but they'll also what they hear and then do a hit job on you later. And we've seen that happen with what's going on with the Afghanistan now. Now, I don't know. Yeah. So we only saw them once while we took them out for a patrol or something. I remember the wheat silos too, when we had to get those, secure those, and we saw some bad mofos that were trying to make us be able to get the food and tried to storm the wheat silos in Dili. And we fixed bayonets for that one. And the sharp end of the knife keeps the good, the bad, and the ugly at bay. It worked. Non-lethal. Even stab in the leg, non-lethal. Do you roughly know how many Army reservists were deployed to Timor? I don't think any deployed in East Timor. And if they did, they would have been like SSOs, legal officers, nursing officers, etc. But no, I don't believe any reservists went. Where are we? 1995 to 2023, like yourself, we have seen some changes. We've seen some changes. The world is goddamn changing. And that's how we know these days when we look at the world, when people say, is that a conspiracy theory, whatever, you're going, dude, no, I'm 53 years old. I remember living in this world when everything was normal. And now I'm seeing it now, which is the opposite, the inverse. I'll give you an example. There was no real cameras back in those days. There was no digital photography getting done. There was no mobile phones getting carried around. There was no internet for people to look at. Everything was handwritten letters. Yeah. It wasn't that long before that you were getting paid cash in hand. Yeah. In 2002 or 3, went over to do a next trip to Timor in a hovercraft. I didn't expect that. Lee, got my shotgun enlistment day tomorrow. You've given some good advice through your videos, man. Appreciate it. Lee McKenzie, well done, mate. Well done. You're going to make some really good friends, open some doors, and give you a chance to reignite your life and put you back in the pack. I really appreciate that, mate, and I think you're going to love it. How old are you now, Lee? Paper Aid, Simon Powell, correct. Can we get some thumbs up there for Lee McKenzie? Declan, Kaz, is the reason you don't like the media because they present a clear, biased point of view? Absolutely. It's always a paid message. A lot of it is people that are actually reading the script, not actually doing journalistic work. And I think it's more the fact that a lot of the media too, you don't realise, I never used to realise until I now know about sound, cameras, lights, etc., that quite often they were recording audio, while someone back further was actually just videoing it for context. So you never know what's going to be used against you, etc. So I think you have to have some sort of skepticism towards it, because if they don't have a good story here, or they hear you talking about an atrocity, you don't think that atrocity is not going to come back up. There's no there's no such thing as off the record with media. Yeah. And we're going to see how that burns Puff Diddy, J-Lo, Usher, Justin Bieber, Jay-Z, Beyonce, and all of these people. Yeah. All the photography, all of the videos, all of the parties, everything people have used is going to get used against them. And if it doesn't, that's even more proof that Hollywood looks after its own, yeah? Team, I'm sorry this was not so much interactive for you guys, but I think it was a crazy deployment to be on. And it had the feeling like it was going to be very Saving Private Ryan. We went there to do the right thing, and we went there to fight, in the hottest and the hardest conditions during the monsoonal season. But the only reason why it never came down to a brutal gunfight, on the daily with hundreds and hundreds of coffins coming back home, caskets, I believe is more because the trigger discipline of Australian soldiers, the professionalism of Australian soldiers. We had great leadership as well, Mr. Cosgrove. But also because the Indonesians saw that and realised, I don't want to mess with these dudes. And their commanders knew that their dudes weren't up to that fight either. Because the Australians, they were ready to go, and they proved that with Charlie Company. when they did the cross-border contact. To all of the people that deployed in any trip of East Timor, to give those people back their freedom, their peace, their tomorrows and their hope. What better feeling could you have than to go to East Timor now and go to school and watch people with a chance for a better tomorrow? That's all you need. Tough men giving people that can't defend themselves a tomorrow. That's a story. That's beautiful. Foxhound. I'm still haunted of when myself and another digger breached a dwelling in East Timor and I was encountered by an old woman. Yeah, the same thing happened to me at Batagate. Not Batagate, at Ballabo. Sorry, not Ballabo. Ballabo, not Bobby's up in the mountains. So guys, that's all it. That's all it for tonight. Sorry it wasn't more organised. Like I said, I just got back from the international airport picking up the brother-in-law. But if you have any questions on this sort of stuff, it's interesting. It'd be interesting to talk to five guys and know what their thoughts were, what their recollections were, what's happened since. Is there anything we could have done differently? The difference in equipment, SOPs, how they've changed, etc. Does it make any difference? Would we have skinned the cat any different now? Very interesting. Thanks for having us tonight, Kaz. Take care, everyone. Good night and stay safe. Handcraft by Terry G. Thanks, Zane, as well, too. You can't go past this. Look, toilet brush. Missed you live, but looking forward to watching the last 60 minutes. Cheers, mate. Toilet brush. You don't necessarily have to check it out, but on a conversation, if there's anything I can ever do for any of you guys, you know where to find me on Patreon. And guys, your life has got to be about living. You've got to have the stories that you can pass on to others. Sorry I didn't have a script for this tonight, but I didn't want you going another week without me jumping on here and sharing some space and letting you know that Australian soldiers do the right thing to give you a better chance of being proud of tomorrow. And I'll leave you with this. If you're watching right now, I do not think that there is a better time in Australian military history or civilian history to join the military than right now. Because I tell you what, you're going to need something to shield you from the games that are happening in our society as we speak. If you want those boxes ticked, green ticks for mateship, friendship, real mateship and friendship, join the military, the Australian ADF. If you want an adventure during work time, not paid for, and I can take you to on a trip that you can't get a friend to actually come through with their promise to come with you, the Australian ADF. If you want stability, the Australian ADF. If you want to get paid to be fit during work hours, the ADF. And if you want a legacy, if you want your life to matter, and you want to do things around like-minded people you cannot get in any other role, including prisons, including the police force, then come to the ADF, because they will give you all of those ingredients. And the better you are, the higher your flag will fly as a representation of yourself and your family name when you go to the ADF, Army, Air Force, Navy. Even if they drop the standards, that's not an excuse for you to drop your individual fucking standards. Do your job, be the best version of you and the best battle buddy that one day might be the difference that saves a life within the golden hour, whether it be from kinetic energy, or whether it be an accident. You might be able to save a friend or save someone's life and give them another tomorrow. Until then, team, I'm proud of you in advance. It's a pleasure serving you. And I wouldn't have done much differently. Got regrets? Sure thing. But I've lived my life. So if I was taken away now, I feel sorry for my daughter. No, but she didn't get my looks, which might be a good thing for her too. Take it easy. Mucho respecto, and thank you for giving me an hour of your time on this Monday night. Any last questions here? Good on you, Foxhound. He ain't heavy, he's my brother. I like it. Wingy, nice to hear a bit about the life and times of Kaz and the Royal Australian Regiment. I love it, mate. I love it. I wish I could have been there with my brothers, but I couldn't be. And that's my clacker's fault. I promise not to put any more sharp things up it. See you later. Puff Diddy, the diddler, out.